guys, thanks for joining. My name is Stephanie Badmanuk, and I am the CEO and founder of Team Elevate and Elevate Yourself. So I've done a Google Streak training series for Beachbody coaches, but I really wanted to let you know that if you are a new coach, it can be very overwhelming, even as a seasoned coach and someone who's been doing this for a little while. It can be very overwhelming switching to or starting to use a program like this. So I wanted to do a little bit more simple version of using Google Streak and show new coaches how you can use it so that it's not so overwhelming for you. So what I went and did is I created a brand new email address, and I wanted to show you just from the beginning when you sign into your new Gmail account that you want to create for your Beachbody account only. You don't want to use a Gmail account that exists already. You want to create some sort of fairly easy email that will be easy for people. Right now, I'm using stephbadmanuk@gmail.com. Well, Badmanuk's not easy to spell, so I should have changed it, but it's kind of late now that I've kind of already got everything switched over, so I'm probably going to have to leave it. But I created one called coachvat@gmail.com right now. So I would suggest picking something that you want to use and something professional enough that you can use for your Beachbody business, but that's also sort of simple. So I created that, and then you have to have Google Streak downloaded, the app downloaded on your computer as well, and you have to be using the Google Chrome browser. So those are three things you need to do ahead of time. Now I'm going to share my screen and show you maybe. So I set up a brand new one, and once I set up my email and it said, can we access Streak? And I said yes. This is where it took me. So it's telling me right now I still need to complete my setup of my Gmail account and my Google Streak. So you can go here and choose a theme. All this stuff, I'm not going to worry too much about doing that. I'll just choose one for now. You can put your own photo in for the theme. In my regular Gmail account, I have a picture of the beach in Turks and Caicos for my honeymoon, and it's amazing. So I picked that theme. I'm going to save it. So there we go. Picked a theme. You can always go back to your settings up here and change it later on. So I choose a theme. You can watch videos, and I would say that you probably should go ahead and watch, how to use Gmail, importing contacts. It's really not that important that you import your contacts into your Gmail as much as it is to import your Team Beachbody coaches and customers into your boxes. But as a new coach, since that's what we're focusing on right now, you're not really going to have a whole lot of existing customers and coaches that you need to import. So you don't need to worry about that. And if you do, you can watch my other video on how to do that. So I'm just going to bypass this. What is Streak? So all this information over here, there's so many places you can learn more about it. So it's giving me some welcome emails saying welcome to Streak. And that's about it. So now I'm set up. I have it attached to Google Streak. So how am I going to use it? So as a new coach, there are really only three things that I would suggest that you start tracking right off the bat. And that would be your leads, your customers, and your coaches. Now, your customers and coaches, it's great to start a pipeline up and have that so that it's there. You aren't going to have a whole lot right now, but it's so good to start a tracking system like this from the time you start coaching. Now, if you want to use something else, there is also Asana, which is good. Some people like pen and paper. If that's what works for you, then do that. And it might be what works for you for a month or 2 months or a year until your business starts getting bigger. You may not want to use Google Streak right away, but there are some coaches who have really big goals, who want to move quickly, and they want results. And if you want results as a coach, you need a good follow-up system. And that's why I really wanted to show you just a bit more simple of a way to use Google Streak so it can help you but not get overwhelmed with it. So the one thing I would maybe recommend checking out before you do this is my very first video in this email series on how I use Google Streak for my business, just so you can get a general idea of what it is. I don't want to go over exactly what the pipelines are and all of that, but I'll just do a very brief overview, I guess. Over here, you can go to more labels, and there's something called pipelines. So the first thing you're gonna do in your new Google Streak and Gmail account is create a new pipeline. I'm gonna create a sales pipeline. You can also scroll down and create a blank one, but I'm going to go with a sales one for now. So I'm gonna create the pipeline, and it's going to bring up this pipeline. Take a tour. I don't need to do that. You would probably want to if you're new to it as well. These little boxes pop up everywhere. All right, so this is just a baseline, basic pipeline. Now, what I recommend, and the same thing I recommended for other coaches, was to create a master pipeline. So your very first pipeline you create, you should name it Master Pipeline. Oops. Okay, so I'm naming that my master pipeline. And the first thing I want to do in my master pipeline is decide, as a new coach, what is it that I want to track from my leads, my customers, and my coaches, okay? So obviously you want their names. I suggest leaving stage here. If you don't want it, you can delete it. Deal size, we don't need, so I'm going to click that and I'm going to delete it. I don't need that there. Assigned to, right now, you probably don't need that because you're only going to have your account. If at some point in time you end up opening a spouse account, then you might want to have some sort of assigned to column there so that you know whose account you put somebody under. But for now, we're just going to remove that as well. Date of last email, that you could leave that, I guess. I'm going to delete it for now. And then notes you want to keep. That doesn't leave me with very much information, right? So I'm going to want to track a few more things than that in my new Beachbody business. One of the things you for sure want is email. So I'm going to create a free form column, and I'm going to call it email because I want to get as many emails as I can. Some other things you may want to, so I'm going to look here at some of the things, some of the columns that I had in my Google Streak that I use now. Some of these things are definitely not necessary for brand new coaches. Due date is one thing you definitely want, as well as maybe days in stage, okay? So I'm going to go here. Days in stage is a magic column. So you go to magic column and you scroll down, days in stage. That will tell you how many days you have that person in that specific stage so that you know if you need to be following up or moving them through your stages. So these are your stages up here. These aren't right. We'll change them later. But right now we're just focusing on setting up our basic columns. And this is the information that we want to track for the people that we are going to be using Google Streak for. And I would suggest picking the things that you really think you're going to want to track because we're going to duplicate this pipeline down the road. So like I said, I also want to do due date or follow-up date. So I'm going to create a new one and I'm going to create it a date. And I'm going to call it whatever, due date or follow-up. I called it due date in my other and I don't know why. So we'll call it follow-up. What else could we create? A free form. Actually, I shouldn't have done a free form for that. If you want to know, track their address or their phone number or things like that, then you can put it as a free form. One thing you might want to put in here as a new coach is goals. And there you can track their goals when they tell you what their goals are. In mine, I have short-term goals and long-term goals, but as a new coach, really, if you just have a place to track goals, then you can put that if that's something you're interested in tracking. Now, like I said, this may be different for you. If you may want to be more or less detailed. Invited, contacted, first order date. Source is something you can decide if you're interested in knowing where they came from, you can put that, but it's not that necessary right away. Address, and all of that you can find in your Team Beachbody account. Coaching goals, challenge pack. You may want to put a checkbox called CP, which is challenge pack. And that way, when somebody orders a challenge pack, so I'm just going to create a blank box here called test. We'll talk about that in a minute. When someone buys a challenge pack, you can check them off so you know you've already gotten Success Club points from them because they've bought a challenge pack. So that's kind of something that's simple to put there as well. And honestly, other than that, you probably don't need to track a whole lot more. when you're starting out as a coach. It's up to you though, like I said. The more details you want to be here, that's fine. If you want to put them in, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to use all of those columns right off the bat. But I would suggest putting in the things that you really are interested in tracking, because this is going to be your master pipeline. And yeah, that's one more I wanted to put, was interested in. So I'm also going to go and do a drop down or a tag. They're pretty much the same idea. And I'm going to say interested in, because I want to track what programs they're interested in. So when I click here in my blank box or whatever, I can manage my options, or I can start typing. So maybe they're interested in the 21-day fix. So I would suggest going in here and putting in everything, like all the programs. So I can either do it like that, or an easier way is just go manage options and start adding in. Go to the back office, go to your Team Beachbody account, look up the programs and just write them all in, because it's going to save you time later on. So you can just go ahead and add them. You don't have to. You can add them as you go. The only problem is that from pipeline to pipeline, your columns, if they're not the same, then you lose that information. So right now, if I wanted to move this to a different pipeline, which I haven't set up right now, but I didn't have this notes column in it, I would lose anything that I had put in that column. So that's why it's important to really think about what you want to track. But as a new coach, honestly, you just want to stay simple and use it in a way that works for you. So I'm going to stick with those. Those are probably some of the most important things to track as a new coach. I'm sure there's probably a couple others that you might want to do as well, but those are the basics. So then what you would want to do is, so that's your master pipeline. So you're going to want to save that one so that you don't have to make these columns every single time you want to start a new pipeline. So I'm going to take my master pipeline over here on the left-hand side. And I'm going to click that little drop down, and I'm going to create a similar pipeline. So I'm going to say, okay, I'm happy with these columns. This is what I want to track in my leads, my customers, and my coach pipeline. That's all I want to track. That's good. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to create a similar pipeline. And if you see over here, it's the one with the little star after it. That's the one, the duplicate one. So I'm going to start by creating my leads pipeline, because as a new coach, that's mostly what you're going to have. You're not going to have many customers, if any at all, and you're not going to have many or any coaches. So those pipelines are going to be a little bit easier to create later on. But your leads is really the one that is important. So up here, your stages. So you're going to want to change these stages to what works for you as a new coach. What do you want to track with your leads? So I'm going to come over here and look at what I have for leads for mine right now. And I have new leads, past interest, follow-up. So some of the things, maybe not right off the bat, but so let's start with new leads. So when you first put someone in here, they might just go into your new lead stage. Then you might want to have one for past interest or something like that, because after a while, when someone's not interested anymore, you might have to move them to a pipeline where you're not following up so consistently, but you still have them in your list. I have one called follow up. So you want to, have one where you know that these are people you need to follow up with. Let's see what else might fit for a new coach. Interested or forming, so that's your building relationships or relationship building. If you invited them to email, I have an email series. You may not. You may just put follow up, and then you could just put yes, sent link. So if you followed up and they said yes, you can send them the link. And then your next one might say no, invite to free group, which you should be running as a new coach. Any coaches, actually, I don't run enough of them, and I need to start doing more to provide value to those people as well. So that might be all you want to track in your leads is all your new leads go here. If they're not interested anymore, they go here. If you need to follow up, they go here. If they're ready and you sent them the link, they go here. And if they're not and they say no, it's still just a not right now. They'd either go there, or you might put them in past interest. Those could kind of be the same thing, so you might not want them both. Now, I don't need these two because I have enough, so I'm just going to delete the stage and delete this stage. So that's a super, super simple follow-up system that I have right here. Like I said, you can go way more detailed. You can go super simple, basically where you just want their name and you want to be able to give them a date and make a few notes on them. And that's okay, because that's what you need is a really good follow-up system to not let anybody fall through the cracks. As a new coach, there's so much to learn. The one thing that you don't want to have to worry about is remembering to follow up with people all the time. So one thing I want to recommend right now to all of you is to read the book called The Miracle Morning for Network Marketers. Where am I? So if you have not gotten this book yet, as a new coach, this book is going to help you tremendously. Not only does it teach you and talk about having a great morning routine that's going to help you be super productive, it also talks a lot about follow-ups, inviting, and all those things that we need to do. So that's a good book. And I would also recommend the book Go Pro by Eric War, I think, I don't know. It's a really good book too for inviting, following up, and just learning why that's so important in network marketing. But now I just want to go over here. So let's say we've set up our leads. This is all we want to track. Like I said, you're going to have to spend a little bit of time deciding what you want to track and how you want to move them. You can add to this and change it all the time if you want. The only thing you really need to be careful with changing or adding to is your columns, because you want to make sure they're the same in all of your pipelines so that your information transfers. So let's say I'm good. I'm just going to leave that. I'm going to go back to my master pipeline. I'm going to go right here and I'm going to create another similar pipeline. And I'm going to wait, and it will bring it up. Maybe I didn't click it. There we go. It's the one with the asterisk or the star. And this time, I'm going to create one called customers. Okay? So because I created a similar pipeline, these columns are all going to be, these columns right here are all going to be the same. All I need to do is change my stages, okay? So what do I want to follow up with as a new coach? What do I want to track with my customers, okay? So you may want to track new customers and put them here. And then you may want to track you may want to follow up with your new customers after 1 week. So 1 week follow up. You may say, okay, I'm going to start my new customers here. Then I want to move them here and make sure I follow up with them in a week. Then whatever else you want to track in your customers. You might want to track if they're on Shakeology. You may want to have them in a stage. You might want to track, let's see what I have here, coach prospects. You might want to track ones that you've invited to a free group, or the ones who've been in a challenge group, or things like that. So I would say in challenge group, or you could even say invited to challenge group, because some customers might have signed up with a free membership, or they might have might have been a lead that you got from Beachbody if you hit Success Club. If you want to move these around, you just go over top and you can click and drag it. So I might want to put, I invited them to a challenge group, they're in a challenge group, or maybe in a free group, or you can also do the same thing as the other one. Yes, you sent the link, so you're waiting for them to order. And this is customers, so people have already signed up under you, maybe with a free membership, maybe they've bought something in the past. No. Add to free group maybe. And what I would recommend is checking out my document that I have for the more detailed one, and just choosing really what is important to you as a new coach. Don't try to do it all, because it's going to be too much. I promise you, it's going to be too much. It was too much for me when I started too. So like when I started transferring to Google Streak just a few months ago, not even as a new coach. So it can be overwhelming. So that is why I suggest setting up leads and customers. And then I'm going to go to my master pipeline one more time. I want to keep that all the time. And where is my little arrow? Why is it not here? Okay. I'm not sure why, but I can't seem to, oh, there, I can just right click. Okay, that works too. So I'm going to create a similar pipeline, and I'm going to create my last pipeline. It has the star, so I know it's the duplicate, and I'm going to call it coaches. And I'm just going to set that up so that when I do have somebody sign up as a coach, I have somewhere to put them. So you may want to delete most of these and just have a couple stages for your new coaches, and add to the stages as you go. So obviously in your coach pipeline, you're not going to need Diamond and Star Diamond as your stages, because you probably don't have any of those yet, right? So new coach, new coaches, and then I always put that I need to be sure to introduce them in team page so that I remember to move them into that stage. And then I want them to, I want a getting started right call. So I want to put them here. So they might be waiting for a getting started right call. Okay. If you have any trainings set up, maybe not you yourself as a new coach, but any upline trainings that your upline is doing, maybe they're doing an emerald training or a diamond training that you can utilize and run with them, then you could set up one called in emerald training or something like that. If you have that in your team, then you might want to set one up just called emerald coaches. And another one that you will need, unfortunately, is inactive coaches, because you will have coaches go inactive. So really super duper basic. You don't need to have everything there. You just need to have the basics so that when you sign somebody up, you can move them along. So let's go back to our leads. So right now I have leads, customers, and coaches, and that's really all you need as a new coach. Later on, when you get a little more comfortable with doing that, you're going to, we'll follow up. You're going to maybe want to add and start tracking your challenge groups or your new product launches or your power hour or your relationship building or whatever. You can use this however you want, but the basic things are following up with your leads, your customers, and your coaches, following their goals, checking in with them, making sure they're happy, and creating long-term and loyal customers and coaches that don't leave after 1 month because they're not getting support or they don't feel like they're getting what they need. So when I go back up to my master pipeline here, what I would recommend is right-clicking or clicking on the arrow and hide that pipeline. When you hide it, it goes down here into hidden pipelines, so it's out of your way and it can't get deleted. That way, when you ever need to replicate it to start a new pipeline, you can do that in your hidden pipeline. So it's out of your way. The sales one, I don't need. That must have been the first one I set up. So now my pipelines are just those 3 basic pipelines with the basic information that I wanted, that I decided as a new coach that I wanted to track. So when you look at this, it's really not super overwhelming, okay? So I'm going to go back to my leads over here, and we're just going to set up a box as though somebody new contacted us. So let's say I just got a message on Facebook from Jane, and Jane said, "Hey Steph, you know, I've been watching you, and I saw that you're a brand new Beachbody coach, and you know, I've been really interested in learning more about the 21-day fix. Have you tried it yet?" So I'm going to make sure that obviously I answer her, but I want to come back into my Google Streak and I want to put her into my leads. She's a new lead, so I want to create a new box for her. And right here is going to be her name. So I'm going to track Jane. Press enter. That created a box. So this box is now Jane's, and this is going to be where all of her information goes. So when I click on this little thing here, it takes me to her box. Here's the things I put in my columns that I wanted to follow up. In my actual Google streak over here, you will see I decided to track a lot more. So this is what it would look like, depending on the things you choose in your columns. But like I said, that's up to you how much you want to do. I don't want you to get overwhelmed. So I would definitely say go with the basics for now. You can always add to them later. So here's the thing. So I can ask her for her email if I want, try to get her moved over to email so I can start utilizing the awesome features of the mail. Follow up. So say we talked, or so I'm going to put a date here. What is the date? So I'm going to put, she sent me a message. So I'm just going to do a quick note so that I know what we talked about. And there. So now I know she was interested in the 21-day fix. She sent me a message asking about it. Over here, because I'm tracking what they're interested in, I can click interested in 21-day fix because I'd already had added that in before I created my pipelines, right? When I just was working on my columns, those were all in. Super simple. Her goal, maybe she said her goal is to lose 30 pounds, or let's say 10 pounds by Christmas. So maybe that's our goal right now. And that's that. So I'm going to leave it like that until I've talked to her. And then she may say, okay, and that's all sounds really great once I tell her about it. And she may say, I want to chat with my husband and I'll get back to you. So you want to make sure to set up a follow-up date for her because you want to remember to follow up. People tell you they'll get back to you, but they don't. The fortune is in the follow-up. You need to follow up as a new coach. That's something that most new coaches don't do or don't have a good system with. So I'm telling you, if you create a system like this for following up super early on in your business, you are going to be successful way faster than many other coaches who do not follow up or who do not have a good follow-up system or tracking system. So set a due date. Usually I set it for a few days later. I usually give them 2 days. So I'll set it for Monday because today is Saturday. And I've set a date for her. So now I can go back to leads. She's in there in my new leads, okay? Let's say I get another message from Bob. We'll stick with a girl from Ashley, okay? And same thing, I will create a box for her. I will come in, I'll make a quick note on what she wanted. Interested in the Fix Extreme. And then I could come interested in Fix Extreme and her goal if she has one, and I'll say, okay, well, we're still chatting, but I want to make sure I follow up with her. Or she may say to me, yes, I'm interested, but I need to wait until I get paid at the end of the month. I will be interested next month. So you might go to October and say, okay, I want to follow up with her on October 5th. Set that follow-up date, boom, move on to someone new because you're not going to forget about her because you set that follow-up date, right? I usually move the follow-up date over here so it's right up at the beginning. So you can move those around as well. So once you have quite a few, it's really simple to come and do your follow-up. So when you're doing your power hour, you're going to come into your leads, you're going to come to follow-up, and you can go group by follow-up, and you can group them by day. And it will group all of your follow-ups by day. So you know who you need to follow up with that day. So the follow-up thing right here is super important. Really, this is the #1 reason for you to be using it, is to track everybody, to know who you're talking to keep that information all in one place for them, and to be able to set that follow-up date and make sure that you're following up with them. So I'm just going to show you in my Google streak over here. That's got a lot more, my due date. And I'm going to show you when I group by due date. I have it called due date, follow-up date on the other one. When I group them, it's grouping, and you can see I have a lot more people in here right now. So that's why I wanted to show you this one. I know who I need to follow up with on each day. So when I do my power hour, I can easily come in here. I just do a quick sort by day, and boom, I can follow up with those people, move on, invite new people, and use it that way. So that's the general idea for setting it up and what I would recommend for new coaches. Don't make it too complicated. Don't let yourself get overwhelmed and say this is too much for me right now. Do it very basic, very simple. You can add and grow as you grow as a coach, but you need to have something. And I really recommend doing this from the beginning of your business, because it was extremely overwhelming trying to make the switch from programs that I've been using for a year and a half. I know some coaches have been coaching way longer, and you have a ton of customers, coaches, leads, and however you're tracking them. It's a lot of work to get them all switched in here. So if you start something like this right from the beginning, it's going to be so much easier for you, and you're going to have such great success with your follow-up. So also great way to track your customers and their goals, add in your customers. And here's another thing. So let's say Jane bought a challenge pack and signed up. So I'm going to come back in here to her box, and I'm going to add, let's say, tomorrow. So I'm going to add the date and say she wants in October challenge, purchased the fixed challenge pack. And then I'm going to come here, and now I can check that box saying, yeah, hey, she did buy a challenge pack. Okay, so I'm going to check that box, and now she's no longer a lead. Now Jane is a customer. So I'm going to come up here to this box, and I'm going to move her to my customer pipeline. So I just move to pipeline, move her to my customer pipeline. So warning, are you sure you want to move this box? Now, here's where you might run into problems if you don't have your columns that we talked about at the very beginning the same in all your pipelines. If you don't have a column, if you have the notes column in leads, but you don't have the notes column in customers, that information will not transfer over and you'll lose it. So you would have to cancel, go into your other pipeline, make sure you add that column in before you did do the change. Right now, everything's good because we have the same column. So I'm going to say, okay, now it's moved her to customers. So now when I go into my customers, Jane is now under my new customers, and I can move her through my my thing here, my stages. So the next stage would be a 1-week follow-up that I want to do. So I'll leave her here in new customers in a week. I'll want to you can double click here on stage, and you can move her to invited to challenge group or in challenge group, because we said she wanted to be in a challenge group, right? So maybe she's in your next challenge group, so you're gonna store her box under that one so you know that she's in a challenge group. Really, there's no right or wrong way to use this. It's just how it works for you. Another thing you can do is your inbox, and this is one reason why it's great to start moving your conversations from Facebook to email. When someone starts getting interested and you ask them, say, hey, do you mind if I email you more information instead? It's easier to chat that way. And put their email in here and start emailing them, because when you go to your inbox, I guess it doesn't want to go to my inbox. Okay, when I go to my inbox, I can look at this thing right here, and I can click it, and I can add it to a box. So if this email was from Jane and her email address, it would recognize and it would ask me if I wanted to move it to her box. But since it doesn't, I'm just going to say Jane. So I'm going to say I want to move this to my box of Jane. So I'm going to move that, or I'm going to track that. So now when I go over to my pipelines, to my customers, and into Jane's box that I have for her with her information, I can scroll down and I can see that email that I saved from her is going to be here. So it's super cool that way. You can, any emails you have, you just save it to that person's box, and even when you delete them out of your inbox, that email is going to be connected in there. So you can always see all of your conversations, all of the information that you chose to track for that customer. So I hope that's not too much information, guys. I think that's about all that I would do as a new coach. If you have any questions at all, then feel free to ask me and I will try to answer them the best I can. I'm still fairly new to Streak as well, so this may change. And don't let yourself get overwhelmed. If you want to be more detailed, check out my other Google Streak videos in this training series, and you can learn how to do some other things and see what kind of pipelines and stuff I've created. But for as a new coach, stay basic, stay simple, find a follow-up system that works for you. It may or may not be Google Streak, but I would definitely say this is a great thing to start with early on in your business to track. I promise you, you're going to get better results than if you aren't tracking, or if you're just tracking, you know, with something a little bit less detailed. So, all right, guys, I wish you all the best of luck in your new coaching journey. I'm so excited that you've decided to become a coach, no matter whose team you're on. And if you're watching this video, thank you so very much. Have a great day and great luck with all your new prospects, leads, coaches, and customers. Bye, guys.